another day. Hopefully today we will want to get the drive shaft in, and I'd like to hang the suspension. Have everything, so hopefully it shouldn't take too long. A couple hours maybe. We'll see. Let's get to work.
I feel like somebody's watching me.
Alright guys, sorry I haven't been doing a whole lot of video, and the time lapse is probably, well, it's not very detailed, but put the drive shaft in, pretty self-explanatory. 2 17s for the carrier bearing, 4 drive shaft bolts that go into the pinion flange, slip yoke slides into the transmission. Topped off with fluid, it's roughly 2.4 liters, coincidence, same size as the KA, Redline MT90. Swear by the stuff. I've had transmissions that grind and clunk going into gear. I put that stuff in there. 30 miles later, shifts like butter. And I mean, I sold the car that I had that issue with. I think I put almost 30 or 40,000 miles on it, and the transmission still shifted perfectly smooth when I sold it. So I always recommend Redline MT90 specifically for KA stuff because it's GL4. But Red 9 products in general are great. Is just pick the right one for your application. So all the suspension stuff is hung. Nothing special. Rotors are rusty from sitting all winter. But yeah, I mean it's just pretty straightforward. The castle nut for the tie rod end, I did at 30 foot-pounds. The lower ball joint, I couldn't find any torque spec in the manual, and just because of the size of it, I mean they seat on a taper, so really you just need the clamping force to lock the taper together, and then it's pretty much good. And with it being, you know, a couple sizes bigger than what the tie rod end is, I just added, you know, 10-12 foot-pounds to it. I think I torqued it to 40 or 42, you know, something close to that's where I could get a cotter pin through it. These guys, the clamp bolts for the McPherson strut, I believe were 65 foot-pounds. The nuts on top of the shock tower, those were 30 foot-pounds. I got Q45 brakes, so it's a little bit different. However, the caliper bracket to the knuckle are the same, whether it's Q45 or the 240SX, the factory brakes. And I think those were between, I think 59 and 72, so torque those 65. The calipers, if you look up the actual spec in the Q45 manual, it's like 60 or 70 foot-pounds. Last time I tried to do that, I stripped out one of the caliper bolts, so I don't go that high anymore. I just torque those up to, I think I did 30 foot-pounds. The 240 brakes, it's a different style, but those only go to 20. I didn't have any issues with them coming loose, you know, all last year. I even threw red Loctite, even though it's not necessary. So I torqued those to 30 foot-pounds. I'm just spitting off torque specs because that's kind of what I live by. If, you know, you torque something, it kind of, you know, the question in the back of your head, did I tighten it enough? Did I tighten it too much? You know, 9 times out of 10, a torque spec is going to be less than what you crank it to most of the time. So really, torque specs are there to extend the life of, you know, the fastener, the threads, whatever it is. Because if you over torque them, you know, after, you know, tightening it up 4 or 5 times, if you're pulling stuff apart often, you're going to ruin the fastener or the stud or whatever it is. So I torque stuff because essentially I'm not going to be wearing out parts or having to fix strip bolts, because I just torque everything to what it's rated for, what it's supposed to be. I just started kind of laying the harness out a little bit. You know, got some zip ties, just laid generally where it's going to be. Trying to figure out where all the little clips go, back on the support and stuff. Got this back on and the fuse box bracket painted because it looked horrible. Let's be honest though, that looks horrible in the bay. So that's going to be next year's thing. We'll be kind of cleaning up the wiring harness, body harness, that kind of stuff. So for now, it's going to be the eyesore in the bay, but Jesse already drove his car. I'll probably put a little video of the fire of his car in here. I think sounds sick, and it's just making me anxious to get mine done so I can drive it, or potentially blow the engine up in the first 5 minutes, then have to do something really quick so I can enjoy the season. But I think that's where I let off. Harness, suspension, got the shifter back in it, oil in the gearbox. That's something on my mind. Last thing I'm going to do, I think, to finish off the night is put the turbo manifold on it. So here she is. Got some 2000 degree high temp paint. That's mainly for the head flange because it was getting a little bit like surface rust and just looking bad. But when I did it, originally I was going to leave the wrap that was on it, just do the head flange, but it looked so good that I just decided to cut all the old wrap off, paint the whole thing. I should drop a shot in here if I still have it. And then on top of that, I wrapped it. So fresh wrap, safety wire is the key to holding header wrap or exhaust wrap on anything. So essentially, like, first, depending on where it is, if it's it's underneath the car, you got to wrap it directional so the wind's not trying to loosen it up. But when you wrap it, everybody focuses on getting the wrap super tight so it doesn't come loose. Well, after a handful of heat cycles, stuff moves, it can become brittle and frail, and a rock comes up and chips something. Now you got the flap just swinging around underneath there. Use safety wire to wrap all your stuff. You won't have an issue because there's support on the wrap every few inches. So it doesn't come off, it doesn't wear out. I really like it. I've never had header wrap come loose since I've done that. It's always lasted and looked really nice until I've cut it off. So you see the safety wire twists every few inches, and it goes all the way around, so it's supported. If something bumps it or something like that, you might have a little part that has a flap, but the whole thing's not going to end up coming undone looking like crap. So I think for today, last thing I'm going to do is throw that in the bay. I'll be tempted to put the turbo on. Might not, just for a visual. But yeah, I think we're going to throw it in the bay, and then that'll be it. So in case I use this for a closer, until next time, see you guys later.